So let me tell you a very, very interesting and kind of gut punching story as to how I lost $40,000 or $41,000, or it's a fluctuating number, so anywhere between $35 to $45,000, depending on the day, actually. Very interesting story, and let me go back in it. This kind of goes back to 2021, around April-ish. There was an announcement where this guy that I follow very, very closely. I've learned so much. Now, there's a lot of lessons actually. Before I go into this, there are some serious lessons that can be learned in this. And thankfully, let me just say it up front. I didn't lose $41,000. I lost the opportunity to make it. So essentially, I didn't actually lose any money, but I have the opportunity to make 41 or 40, or depending on the day, like I said, $1,000, and I passed on the opportunity, and I highly regret it. Now, look, it wasn't meant to be, and I fully believe that missed opportunities can be learned from, and just things happen for a reason. There's this one story that stuck with me so much, and it's actually funny because it's the same guy that I'm talking about in this. There's a guy that once said that he had the opportunity. He was investing in all these companies, 10 years ago or something like that, and he would take $25,000 and he would put them in these companies. He would write a check. If he believed in the company, he'd write a $25,000, whatever the company would be, whether it be Facebook or Twitter. It would always be a $25,000 check. The CEO of Uber, I think his name is Travis, went to this guy and was like, "Hey, would you like to invest in our company?" And he normally would have written that $25,000 check, but he had just bought an apartment in New York City and was not able to. Now, by the way, I don't personally know this guy. This is a guy I listen to, and it's his stuff. But he just bought a New York City apartment, didn't have that 25 grand offhand, so he had to pass on the opportunity. If I remember correctly, that $25,000 would have turned into like $400 million, just because of the way that Uber, it was so unbelievably cheap. Like it was like pre everything, and now with the valuation of Uber, well, that 25 grand would have turned into like $400 million. And he says this is a phenomenal perspective, and it has stuck with me for years. Actually, he said, "Look, does it hurt? Of course. Is it what?" But he's like, this is what blew my mind. He said, "Who knows if because I had made so much money, my life would have been different, and I would have been on some private jet flying to some conference, and that private jet would have crashed, and I would have died." He's like, you don't know the alternative, and you only have what you have right here. You don't know the alternative. What if he's like, what if I made all that money and I turned into a jerk because I didn't know how to handle that kind of money yet? And so it's just like, and my family hated me, and like it's all. He's like, you don't know the alternative. You just have what you have, and you have to make the most of it, what you have, and learn from it. And that stuck with me forever. So it at least eases when I miss opportunities, it eases the, well, you don't know the alternative kind of thought. But there's a really, really important lesson that I want you guys to learn, and that I learned out of this. So a little bit back into the story, it was April of 2021. Somebody that I follow pretty regularly and have learned a lot to, and owe a lot of my progress in my business, or at least my being at the forefront of the industry too. And he released something called an NFT. He was talking about NFTs. They were all hot. Like NFTs were all being talked about and stuff. And he was like, I want to do it differently. I want to do something like it really benefits the people. It's not just going to be art. There's going to be things connected to it. Like there's a conference connected to it. You can actually go to a conference, and there's going to be speakers and artists and everything. There's things where like you can actually hang out with him and meet him. There's things where you can be on his podcast. It's not just a piece of, a JPEG file. It's a JPEG file that is connected to real life activities and things. So I was like, okay, I'm really interested in this. I've learned so. He's like, if you have benefited from me, or you believe in me and all that I've done, and he's a very successful person. He's like, I highly recommend you consider checking it out. Now, I had gone through the steps. I had, I was about to do it, and like I had the money transferred. I think it was somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 that I had taken from other investments. I was ready to buy his NFT, and I had it on my phone. I had it pulled up on my phone. All I had to do was hit the button. And I was like, I don't know. Is this really worth it? Is he really going to live up to it? And I decided not to. And that was one of the, actually probably the biggest to date, the biggest poor financial decision that I've ever made, because that $2,000 or $3,000 has now turned into, like I said, depending on what's called the floor price, the price of the day, anywhere between, and actually the price of Ethereum, anywhere between, it's on average about $40,000. And I missed it, and I highly regret it. And I had the opportunity, and it's a punch in the gut. But what did I learn from this? And there's actually going to be a follow-up video, because I want to do this in two parts, because I actually took what I learned in this video and actually did it. So what I learned is you need to be willing to take risks. And if you believe in, this is the most important part of the video, if you believe in something or somebody, whether that be yourself, somebody else, or a business or a company, if you believe in them, take the risk. If there's an opportunity where you can support it or invest in it, I think it's, if you have the means. Like, I'm not saying like that money, if that money went to zero, it would have, like the $2,000 or $3,000 investment. Put this in your own perspective. If that went to zero, it would have hurt a lot. But like, I would still be able to pay my mortgage next month. It's not like we needed that money to go buy bread for breakfast tomorrow. Like, it was side money, right? So that's very important. But like, the biggest thing that I learned from that is be willing to take the risk, especially if it's money that or anything, like money, time, effort that you're willing to risk, right? And support the people that you believe in, whether that be your friends or yourself, or like, if you believe in something or someone, take that risk and support them. And that's what I learned from this opportunity of losing the money, because I genuinely have been blessed by not only blessed by this person, like, I changed my mindset on business and everything, but then also I believe in them as a person. And I was like, and looking back, I'm like, why in the world would I have thought that this, like, they wouldn't deliver? And I don't know, I think that it's really interesting if there's opportunities for you to do that. I'm not talking NFTs. I'm talking like, if there's opportunities for you to, if you believe in something, I think that you should follow through with it and take the risk. And that's something that I learned, and it was a smack in the face when it happened, man. Oh, such a punch in the gut, man. It was like, and that's only if I think, I don't remember what, this was May, so I don't remember what the pricing exactly was. It was somewhere between $2,000 or $3,000, but there was different options one too. Like, some of them were even cheaper. Some were like $1,800. Some were like, 4 or 5. I mean, you could have bought ones that were like $10,000, and now those $10,000 ones are selling for like $200,000, $300,000. Like, what a missed opportunity. It hurts, but I learned from it, and I learned that, what, take the risk. What's the worst that happens? If you believe in it, I'm not talking about chasing, like, trying to make him. I was not actually going to buy this with the intent of it. Even the fact that those prices are there are like astronomically insane. I didn't plan to try and get rich quick, because that's a big surefire way to lose money, is if trying to get rich quick. Oh my gosh, you're gonna lose money so quick. But this was just like, I wanted to invest in the person, and I decided not to, and I highly regretted it. So I hope that you can learn from that mistake, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned for a part 2, actually. So I learned from my mistake, and there was another opportunity, and I jumped on the opportunity pretty strongly, and it worked out really good in my favor. So stay tuned for part 2.